and you verify that this is a genuine certificate, this is not a genuine certificate. But remember, we are dealing with people with 21st century skills, that they can also do that. So to me, Public Service Commission should be held accountable for that.
Okay.
And going forward, I think they should be able to do their work thoroughly.
Okay. And maybe, Director, as you also respond, in terms of the forms of academic forgeries that you have been able to witness, the Commission is handling, now you have over 2,000 cases now that has been brought before you. So how do you ensure that those forms of academic forgeries are quietly addressed?
Okay, so some of the allegations that we receive, because we receive reports from individuals, some of them we also get them out of our own initiatives. So once we get those allegations, we institute a criminal investigation, which is quite a process, because what would happen, even for the cases that Public Service Commission has raised, that report to us and DCI will be an initial report, because you need to conduct proper criminal investigation. And what this will entail is to now go to those institutions where persons are said to have qualified, record statements from the specific officials in those organizations, get additional documents. We also go to the extent of getting bank statements to establish that these people actually earned out of the forged academic certificates, after which we now send the files to the DPP. But to come back to your question is that what we do is I think this year or mid last year, we actually issued an advisory to all public entities and raised an alarm about the rising cases of forgeries. And what we advised the institutions were that they need to undertake due diligence, because I do agree with him. How is it that people are getting themselves employed and yet you have institutions and committees that are supposed to vet? But maybe to be fair to PSC, I think we need to commend them, because when this issue was raised, they ordered an audit, a verification to all MDAs, and they have gotten an initial report, something that they will need to continue to do. So for us, what we have done is to give them advisories. We also investigate cases that come to us. Where we find evidence is sufficient, we arraign them in court, and we also institute cases in court to recover the amounts that have been earned as a result of forged academic certificate. Fourthly, as soon as we charge an official in court, the Anti-Corruption and Economic Crimes Act provides that somebody should be suspended on half duty, and I mean half salary, until the case is determined. So we also write to the institutions and tell them that we have charged so and so, you need to suspend them from duty. The other bit that we've been doing, although with a bit of reluctance from public institutions, under the Leadership and Integrity Act, it's a requirement that when you are seeking a public office, you should fill a declaration and submit the names to us. So once we get those names, we also provide information which is in our custody. For example, somebody may have been charged in court, or we are currently investigating academic forgeries against them. So those are some of the measures that we've taken. Yes.
And of course, we'll be also coming back to the Chapter 6 of the Constitution, which any public officer ought to uphold and adhere to. Maybe let's go to Daktari here. Daktari, we're talking about the sanctity of a certificate itself. Have we lowered its standards because it could have an impact on the education system? Because out there, one of our education systems is one of most vigorous and rigorous systems in the world. So what impact will it have on our education system totally?
The impact that will have is that, number one, as you said, it lowers the reputation of our institution. It also lowers the credibility of the university and the students.
Yes.
But I want to say that as universities in Kenya, especially in Kenyatta University, we are doing what it takes to ensure that our certificates are credible. And as the director said, going forward, I think the menace will be wiped away. So as you say, it actually lowers the credibility and the standards. But it is not only in Kenya. You hear the politicians are having certificate from, let's say, India,
yes,
or a known destination. So it is not only in Kenya, okay? But the EACC, I think they are working, and the DCI, they are working to see that the menace is capped. And going forward, I want to encourage the Public Service Commission, together with the EACC and DCI, to work hand in hand, and especially the PSC, to ensure that those who are employed have credible certificates, have genuine certificate. It starts from the PSC and even County Public Service Board. If we start from there, I think going forward, we are going to have genuine and credible certificates going forward.
And of course, Director, he has raised something that is very pertinent. Even the Commission itself, back ahead of 2022, before the election, you made public a report that you handed over to the Independent Electoral and Boundaries Commission, IEBC, raising credibility of the education that some of those leaders who are eyeing those positions do not qualify for. Going forward, are we expecting such kind of reports to be taken seriously so that we can prevent, it acts like a buffer, you don't allow those individuals who do not qualify for those positions taking up such positions?
Thank you very much. One of the challenges we have had in implementing Chapter 6
yes,
is Article 99 and 193 of our Constitution. Those two articles talk about elective positions, and they provide that somebody is disqualified if they are found to have misused or abused a public or state office. That is one of the disqualifications. But just right below it, it says that somebody is not disqualified until they have exhausted all their appeal procedures.
Yeah.
So just like you've mentioned, in 2022, we actually flagged out 241 individuals. Some of them actually had forged academic certificates. Some had already been charged in court. Some were already convicted, but they had appealed. But when IEBC got that report, based on those provisions of Article 99 and 193, that says that somebody is not disqualified until they have exhausted all possibility of appeal or revision of that sentence, those people were allowed to contest. So in terms of going forward, those are some of the provisions that we think we need to talk about them as a country, so that we do not, on one hand, appear to want to implement Chapter 6 on leadership and integrity, and then there are also certain restrictions or impediments. Yes.
And of course, Doc, you just heard what the Director is saying. It talks about the integrity of a person, not just a public officer, but the morality of a man. But as tutors, you're not obligated to teach integrity.
Yeah.
You're either born with it or you're even taught so that you can be able to be an upstanding member of the society. What are we teaching the next generation if they see you can fake it to make it?
You see, Abdi, there is a lot of inequalities in terms of job opportunities. That the higher the qualification, the higher you get the job. So people tend to forge a certificate so that he can get a job. Issues of law and morality. We do teach morals in the university. And if you check sometimes, somebody will see, I better forge a certificate and survive than not to forge and die. So there is moral dilemma here, okay? I better forge certificate and survive with my family and get a job and survive and go on than not forging certificate and die with my family. So there is a moral dilemma there, okay? Should you follow the law? Because if you forge certificate, the EACC will come for you. And they'll take you to court, they will sue you, and you can be convicted. The other side is the moral issue. What will happen if I die of hunger? What will happen if my family die of hunger?
Doc, are we not teaching people
I better do what?
To breach those rules that are set in place
So I'm saying,
so that they can make it in life?
there is moral dilemma here, you see? So somebody will see, I better steal, I better forge the certificate and survive, rather than not to forge. And what will people say if my family die? Yeah? So I better risk and get a job and get a loan and start a business. If EACC comes, my family will be having a business to run. I'll be jailed. There is no problem. Because you see, these guys, they have caught many people. Okay? Many of them have resigned. Many of them have been working with the government for a very long time. Okay? They have acquired loan. Okay? You hear him saying about the bank statement. They have acquired loan. They have started business. Now they are coming. They want to take them to court.
Yes.
Yeah? They are already established. I better advise them that we start from here and move forward, rather than looking backward.
Okay.
How
because
can
you see, even
people?
the courts agreed with institutions such as the EACC, where they made a judgment.
Yeah.
If you are caught red-handed, you will be surcharged. It doesn't matter how many years you have worked for.
Yes.
You will return that money because you acquired it under false pretense. So, Doc, what you're saying is that we should just seek the shortcuts means so that we can make it in life.
You see, Abdi, the courts follow the law. They don't follow morals.
Yes.
Okay? They don't look at morality issues. Okay? They follow the law. On the other side, they want to recover the money.
Yes.
Let's give an example. Abdi, you have been working with KBC. You forged the certificate, for example. You have been working with them. After 10 years, the ACC come and say, Abdi forged the certificate.
Yes.
But you have been working for the KBC. You have been working. So I better say that we start from here and move forward, rather than telling you to bring back the money that you earn, but you work. You work for KBC, okay? Who will take that money? But you have been working. You should have been somewhere. So
it
they
is the
should
commission
also
to take it. That's why the courts directed them to ensure that that money, even if I worked for KBC, let's say, for example, for 10 years, that's why even in KBC itself, we had an inquisition from the Public Service Commission where we had to verify our academic credentials. That is the exercise that was launched last week. So you see, Prof, the conundrum is, yes, I do get your point in morality, but in terms of ensuring that our next learners do not get to see if these other guys are able to make it into these higher offices, should we ensure that we do the same way so that we can make it in life? No, I'm saying we still to start from here, going forward. Let's not look backward. Okay. And by the way, Abdi, who is fake? Is the certificate fake or the person who is fake? You have been working here competently. When did the EACC realize that Abdi is having fake certificates? Is Abdi incompetent in KBC? He is not. He is competent. He is doing his work. It is only that, you see, there is academic learning and there is experiential learning. Through experience, you learn the art of work. Okay? So the certificate is fake, but the person is no longer fake. He is experienced. He is competent. So I want to suggest that we start from here and move forward. Let's not look backward. Okay. Still debatable. Okay, as you respond, Director, in terms of not just the Chapter 6 of the Constitution, we're talking about the issue of morality, because we have younglings who are in universities who are eyeing these positions that we're in right now. As the Commission, what can you advise them?
Okay, thank you. What I want to, maybe just one word to respond to Doc, is that it is said crime does not expire. Yes. And what we are trying to do as Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission, and actually all the governance institution, and it should be the responsibility of all Kenyans, is to go back to the values. We want to uphold the values of honesty and integrity and fairness, so that it is true there are challenges that may have driven people to these issues of forged academic certificates. But the consequences are dire, because somebody with fake academic certificates. You might get somebody is working in a hospital. He has qualifications of a doctor, but he has not gone to the medical school. Now, as you go there to get services, what do you expect? What about an engineer who has fake academic certificates going to design roads, going to design bridges? And these bridges and these roads are going to be used by citizens. So it's such a serious issue that has to be dealt with. And just like you've stated in one of the landmark court rulings recently, the court actually said that once you get employed through forged academic certificate, that employment is illegal, and what you've earned all those years should be recovered from the date, the first date you got employed until the date of separation. And we have a case where the court actually allowed us to recover 3.1 million shillings, which was what somebody had earned in a county for the entire of that period. So like you rightly said, we need to be a country that upholds ethics, that uphold integrity and the rule of law. Because if we were to say that, you know, these people have problems, they need to fend for their families and just say the end justify the means, then we will not have a country. A country is built on honesty, it's built on integrity, and probably now the other issues, the other underlying issues are the lack of morality and ethics is also what now will lead people to do more serious crimes, like embezzlement of public funds, fraudulent acquisition, and that will have a ripple effect, because then once those funds are stolen, then we will not even have money for development, for industries, and to create employment for the youth. But one thing that we cannot do and we cannot allow is shortcuts, because like somebody said, if you want to destroy a country, you don't even need the bombs, you just need to mess their education system. So the consequences are dire. This country has always been known as the best country in human resource. We are a net exporter of human resources out there. And these issues, now when they come up, we are going to jeopardize our positions out there to get employed, and even for our students to join universities abroad. Persons with fake academic certificates, when you have them here in the country, they secure employment in a country where there is unemployment, and then the ones who have genuine academic certificates will not get options. So what message again will we be sending to our youth? That there is no need to study, because you can as well go and manufacture your own documents and get employed. So that is what we are doing as a commission to promote ethics and integrity, just as we also investigate the actual cases and recover the monies. And luckily the courts have agreed that that employment you secure, it doesn't matter, you can even work for 20 years. The court said it doesn't matter that you performed the duties of that office. The employment was based on an illegality. Yes.
Doc, as you also respond, Director has raised a pertinent issue. You know, when you go outside the country, you have sought academic papers or academic opportunities in universities established out there. You know, Kenyans, most of the friends that I've worked with, most of the colleagues that I've been able to talk to, you don't require to sit for an examination to enter those institutions. Now, don't you think if these issues persist, those people will be expected to sit for examinations so that they can prove they are qualified to enter those institutions?
Thank you, Abdi. Before that, you know, our system, especially the 844 system, dictates your career.
Yes.
After Form 4, I'm very sure, even you, Abdi, you wanted to do other careers other than journalism. Maybe I'm wrong, but 90% of our students in Form 4, they end up not doing what they wanted to do. So that was the problem. But when you are choosing a career, the first thing is the passion and the talents that you have.
Yes.
The passion. That is why you see somebody will forge a certificate and end up doing medicine. Like there was a doctor in Nandi County who was performing a surgery, and he did not go to any school. That is passion. There was a lawyer in town here. I think when a director they are still
talking
doing
to him. Yeah, he has been taken to court. And
yes,
he has been arrested. And
but that is passion.
Yes.
You see?
But you see, he paid the price at the end of the day.
No, the case is still ongoing, okay? But I'm talking about the passion, okay? So I think the change from 844 to CBC system will cure all these problems, you see? You talked about going outside the country. Our system, again, is rigorous. And when you go outside the country, and even when somebody sits an exam outside the country, it is easier outside than in Kenya. Even doing a PhD outside the country, you will finish in real time, not like in Kenya, even masters. So I think going forward, we need to cure from the roots. We need to cure from public service,
Director, I'll give you an opportunity.
Public Service Commission, and County Public Service, okay? And leave the EACC and DCI to do other things. If we can cure from that place, because who is the complainant? The complainant is not your employer. The complainant is the Public Service Commission, and they were the one who were recruiting, okay? So how can they come back again and say, this guy is having fake papers, and they were the one who were recruiting? Leave alone the step matters employers, okay? And I want to encourage all other employers to verify document before recruitment. Let them take time, so that we can be able to save resources. You see now the DCI and the EACC, they are using money. You hear the director saying, we are traveling to the universities. They are using money.
Yes.
Those are allowances, which the Public Service Commission and the County Public Service and all the employers could have verified before employment, okay? That is it, Abdi.
Okay. Director?
Yeah, thank you. I just wanted to respond to Doc about the passion, and there's nothing wrong in anybody having a passion to undertake any course, medicine, law, engineering, but what we are saying is that you need to have the right foundation, the foundation of honesty and integrity. Even if you did not qualify, say, to study medicine or to study law or whichever course, there are always chances to do some upgrading. Because what will then happen is that if it is based on dishonesty and lack of integrity, once you get to those positions, what else will you do? Or what else will you not do? And for Public Service Commission, I agree with him that the responsibility of recruiting agencies, because PSC oversees government entities, and it is fair that they have realized this problem is persisting and they have asked for the audit. And what we also hope as EACC is that going forward, let's say from 2024, we should not have any other case of anybody recruited with forged academic certificates. Because what will happen is that if entities did not have mechanisms or structures, like you heard him say that probably it might just take an email to find out if so-and-so holds this qualification. Going forward, what we'll be advising is that recruiting agencies, before you give the formal employment to a person, or at least before confirmation, you should be able to verify the academic certificates, so that now we only deal with historical issues, and then we also pass this message. So we don't expect, unless it is a case of impunity or irresponsibility, that from 2024 we are raising these issues. Recruiting agencies need to verify these academic certificates. Yes.
On top of that, Abdi,
Okay.
there is a Kenya National Qualification Authority. What is their work? Okay? So let the PSC liaise with the Kenya National Qualification Authority. Before even reaching EACC and DCI, let them collaborate, okay? And I want to urge the government to really fund the Kenya National Qualification Authority, because that is the body mandated to regulate, okay, the qualification of all the employees. Yes.
Okay, and once they note that, let's say, for example, Abdiaziz Hashim has forged an academic paper, don't you think that is a crime? And that is where EACC needs to come in.
No, you see, the PSC again, their work is also to hire and fire. They can also do disciplinary, okay? So I don't expect the EACC to come in immediately. I expected the PSC and other recruiting agencies or bodies to call you to summon you
Okay.
and discuss with you about the certificates and do internal disciplinary procedures
Okay.
instead of calling the EACC, calling the DCI. Just imagine the EACC and the DCI are coming to your home to frog march you at night, okay, with your children, okay? Why can't the KBC call you to a disciplinary committee and fire you slowly? Okay?
I'm coming back to that. You'll respond to that, Director. I'll tell him why you're not supposed to get fired before crimes are supposed to be taken on you, criminal charges. Even the Public Service Commission talked about it. We're coming to that particular debate. I want to take you, dear viewers, to the Kenya Power and Lightning Steamer Plaza, where we do understand officials of KPLC are currently addressing members of the Fourth Estate. Let's get to hear the status of KPLC in the country.
949 megawatts. Hydro is 838. Wind is 436. Biomass is 2 megawatts. Grid-tied solar is 210. Thermal is 512. Off-grid is 46.16. What we mean by grid-tied are those solar plants which are connected to the grid. So on the right, we've talked about the installed capacity being 3246. That is actually the breakdown. And the effective is 3127. And this is as of December 2023. If you look again at the mix in a pie chart form, that is how it is. Geothermal is doing 45%. Hydros is doing 23%. Cross-border import is 6%. Solar is 4%. Wind is 14%. Thermal is 8%. This is actually the statistics that for the period that we are discussing. So the energy, yeah, it has averaged between 5 to 8% of the total with improved hydrology. There are instances, by the way, where the amount of thermal we dispatch is much less than, is even less than 5%. So depending on particular days, there are times it keeps varying, but by and large, we maintain it at around 5%. If you look at the power demand balance, this is looking at the capacity and looking at the system peak and installed capacity. Over the years, I think you can see the trends right from 2018-19, where we have 1882, which was the peak, and the installed was 2741, going all the way to 2023, where we had that peak of 2149 and 3246, but the current peak that we have is actually 2170. Big demand, that is a combination of comparing the peak demand with the total sales. The total sales is in gigawatt hours, and the peak demand there we are looking is at megawatts. And you'll notice there is a steady rise with the passage of time. I think the only exception there was 2020 because of the COVID, around 2019-20, where there was a slackening a bit, and this was mainly due to COVID. So what are some of the key things that we are looking at in this particular period? One is customer connectivity. And we are targeting to connect 400,000 customers during this period. And this, or rather 400,000, which translates to about 4 million additional households, being the target for by 2030 rather. Because the idea here is really we want to bring as many customers as possible into the grid. And the reason being quite simple, the economic development and the impact that electricity connection does have on households and on individuals is quite positive, and that is the determination of the government. And as a company playing our role, we are also determined to achieve the same goal. So looking at what we have already done during the period, and I think you already know that there was a time when we were unable to get the meters and some of the materials. But as of December, we are done 256,206 new customers that are against a target of 225.
Well, that is an event ongoing at Steamer Plaza. The Kenya Power is holding a press conference to present its quarterly report, Operation on Performance report, that is currently being presented on your screens there by KPLC MD Engineer Joseph Siror. member of the Executive Management Committee. I do understand that our reporter Trevor Nyendo is on that particular bit and will be duly informing us in our subsequent bulletins. But let's come back here to the studio. We're talking about issues of forged academic papers and what impact it will have on our education system following that particular report that was read by the Public Service Commission. Now I want to come back to Director. Director, before we went off to Steamer Plaza, you wanted to respond, but as you respond as well, we witnessed in that particular report that you were handed over by PAC, institutions such as the Kenyatta National Hospital, the Moi Teaching and Referral Hospital were on top of that list.
Yes.
Yeah.
And that is the grave danger, because we are saying being in possession of forged academic certificates is not as easy as probably we want to look at it. We are looking at people occupying key positions, and very sensitive ones for that matter. Because you can have, like I said before, a doctor who is supposed to perform surgery, but he actually did not go to any medical school, but because he had those papers and he had been hired, he's going to do those surgeries. And you can imagine the repercussions. So those are the things that we are raising, and because Doctor had actually talked about, you know, what should be done. I want to say this, that the law is there to protect as well as to punish.
Yes.
And that is why the law provides that you are not allowed to make false documents or to utter false documents. It's a crime.
Yeah.
It is in our laws under the Penal Code. Under the Leadership and Integrity Act, under Section 30, it also says that public and state officers are not supposed to forge documents. So other than the laws, fraudulent acquisition of public property, because once you get a salary from employment based on forged academic certificates, that is fraudulent acquisition of public property.
Yes.
Now we have even gone as a country to have the codes of conduct for public and state officers.
Yes.
So every citizen, they say that ignorance of the law is not a defense. We know, or ought to know, that there are certain actions or activities that are not allowed. So if you go ahead to do them, once the law gets up with you, then you'll have to face the consequences. Yes.
Doc,
Yes.
given that now we're entering the final leg of the program, we want to infuse solutions to this particular menace that has been witnessed not just in this year but for the previous years, because this particular exercise started back in 2014 all the way to now 2024, which is a 10-year period, and of course even the Ethics and Anti-Corruption Commission is even going beyond 2014, back in the 2000s, if you're caught up now with the law itself. We're talking about infusing such teachings in our curriculum,
Yes.
which especially for universities, it is a robust. When it comes to humanities, courses that we are required to take so that we can pass classes or move a grade higher or move to a second year or a third year. Now, as an educationist, should this be enforced not just in your institution but any other institution as well? Because it could even turn out as a source of employment, because institutions such as the EACC or the DCI or the PAC could set aside a department that solely deals with that.
Yes.
Don't you think that is an avenue?
It is true, Abdi. We need to do public awareness on the issues of forgery. Okay, if, as you say, the EACC and the DCI could do this public awareness to people, to students, talking to students in the university, I think it will do work. For those who forge certificates and they are working in the, as you say, Moi Teaching and even Kenyatta National Hospital, you say, my proposal is that we need to do mentorship. Those doctors who are performing surgeries, okay, I propose that we do some mentorship. Because as I said, there is academic learning and there is experiential learning. You learn through experience. Abdi, you have seen some watangazaji out there. They did not go to any class, but they are in the village and they are in TikTok. Wanatangaza kuliko watangazaji wenyewe. You see, those
but
guys.
you see, those are not harmful courses.
You
but
see, no, I'm just giving an example.
Leading a Kenyatta National Hospital in
I'm just giving an example.
Moi and Teaching and Referral Hospital, Doc.
I'm just giving an example.
Would you even take, let's say, for
That these
example, your
guys-
family member to somebody like that?
But you see, these guys who are working in the hospital, it is only the EACC that they have realized they forged the certificates. In their place of work, they are very competent. So that is why I'm saying these guys, they need mentorship. Like the lawyer who was around here,
yes,
they just need mentorship, okay? We just need to change our mentality and change the way we think, okay? Instead of taking them to court, these guys need some mentorship. Those doctors who forge certificates, I know some of our students who did not, who failed in some units, okay, and they were discontinued. They went across to Uganda. I know one who went to Rwanda to do medicine, and he's a dentist right now. How can you follow that guy and say you forged that, you did not qualify?
Okay.
Okay. These guys need mentorship, and we need to change our mentality as a country.
Okay,
if you go outside the country, there are some people who did not go to any school, but they are very competent in their areas of specialization. Okay?
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Director, we are entering the final stages. As you respond, give your final remarks on this issue.
Yes. Maybe just to mention to Doc when he talks about mentorship, I know he means it, but for us to have a country that upholds the rule of law, a country that has human skills that are competent and are of honesty, for us the kind of mentorship we will offer them is to investigate.
Yes.
Once we find that there is sufficient evidence,
yes,
we will take them to court.
Yes.
We will institute recovery for the salaries that they have earned. And once they are convicted, they are barred from public office for 10 years from the date of conviction. And that will be a good mentorship. But just to maybe to conclude is to say that we need to set the right message of good values to the young people and also to our workforce, that these things cannot be allowed, they cannot be entertained, and so that we can also send a message of deterrence. Once, let's say an institution with about 500 people, if they find that 20 have already been found with these forged academic certificates, it will send a message. The other message we want to give to the recruiting agencies is to ensure that they put in place systems to actually verify these certificates. And even for public universities, because it's not only securing employment, candidates after Form 4 are also forging their grades. Somebody has a D+, but they go and get a grade of B, and then they go and do certain courses. They deny those who have actually worked hard in their studies. And what we'll be asking DOC and the universities is also they strengthen their admission processes so that they actually admit the right candidates, and then we'll be able to send a message of integrity and honesty.
Okay.
Yes.
Doc, final minute.
Thank you, Abdi. I want to say that EACC, I want you to be very impartial. When you do this to small people, you also do to big people. There are parliamentarians there who forge their way, okay, to their seats. They are governors, okay? They are women reps, they are senators. So when you do this to small people, you also do to big people. And number two, I want to encourage the EACC and DCI to write to the PSC and all the recruiting agencies to be serious with their work, to do their verification before, and give them timeline that 2025 we are not dealing with the forgery of certificates.
Okay.
If we start from there, I think Abdi, we will go places.
Okay.
Otherwise, we are going to do public awareness to our institution, and as I said earlier, we have a watertight certification, especially in Kenyatta University. And we don't expect anybody to say that maybe our universities are giving out certificates which are not genuine. Otherwise, Abdi, thank you very much. Thank you for the invite. We'll come again.
Thank you, Daktari. That is Dr. Benjamin Koskei, Senior Lecturer at Kenyatta University, and the man at the end is FCPA John Lolkoloi, OGW, the Director of Ethics and Leadership, EACC. Thank you so much. Just hold on for a bit, and thank you for making time for us this morning. And I want to take you, dear viewers, to Naivasha in Nakuru County, where we do understand day 2 of the Naivasha Cabinet Retreat still ongoing, with, of course, the MPs were addressed by President William Ruto yesterday, urging them to pass the Affordable Housing Bill and to consider passing it in the coming days. But I do understand that we do have our senior political reporter, that is John Jacob Curia, who is on that particular bit. John, good morning, and if you can hear me, what can we expect? I do understand we'll be going there live in just a few, but we need to take a short commercial break, then we'll be back, going back to Naivasha. Don't go too far.
This is so unlike Wakili.
Bado unafungua kampuni.
And I've already made the first step.
Alice just wants to make a point to her dad.
I think I'm now ready to visit your parents.
You came to see my mom, my uncles, but we never amounted to anything.
I hear the company's lawyer is missing.
Why are you guys looking for this Wakili guy? What's up?
I have a rather strange feeling, you know.
Why are you looking for him?
How may I help you, Alice?
The gates, please.
You'll never have her again. Don't underestimate me.
What was that woman doing here?
Let him into the garden so that your father wouldn't notice him.
Well, it's all right. It's only natural that he wants to see Nora.
No, but Rodrigo doesn't want to see your sister. He wants to see you.
No.
Marcelo Escalante has a very complicated life. Why do you want to have more problems? Well, problems mean nothing to me. You'd better start to forget about that man. Do you understand?
You should have considered it before coming back here, would you say?
But whether you like it or not, this is also my house. Therefore, I'm staying right here.
Well, I'm terribly sorry for you.
I demand you to tell me the kind of relationship that you have with Marcelo.
Answer us.
Baby, when we first met, I never felt something so strong. And you were like my lover. Cause you only need the light when it's burning low. Only hate the road when you're missing home.
Make me lie when I don't want to. Make someone else some kind of unknowing fool.
And there's nothing I can say or ever do to deserve the love of a woman like you. This is for my international love. Whoa, yeah.
Born in Yatwa village in the Hilly Mboni constituency of Machakos district, Johnston Mwendo Macau attended Yatwa Primary School before joining Mboni High School. He then went to the University of Nairobi to study for a Bachelor of Arts degree. After graduating, Macau joined Longhorn Publishing Company to cut his teeth as an editor and marketer in publishing, subsequently partnering with British book publishing company Thomas Nelson. While publishing and selling books, Macau developed strong interest in politics, attending political rallies in his native Mboni constituency and in the larger Machakos. He went on to vie for the Mboni seat in the 1988 elections, flooring two other top contenders, Joseph Munyao and a previous member of parliament, the fiery veteran politician Frederick Molinge Kalulu. But the 1988 general election, the last under the KANU single-party regime, was fraught with controversies because of its voting system. The Mlolongo queue voting system was infamous for declaring candidates with shorter queues the winner and those with longer queues the losers. Whereas this victory saw him appointed as Information Minister, Macau soon waded into controversy when he registered and launched the Social Democratic Party SDP in 1992 while still a cabinet minister. The opposition viewed these as a strategy by KANU to weaken the opposition by splitting the Forum for Restoration of Democracy FORD that was jointly led by Jaramogi Oginga and Kenneth Matiba. In the 1992 polls that ushered in competitive politics under multipartyism, Macau fought hard to retain the Mboni seat through KANU, which he had defected to after Ford split to Ford Kenya and Ford Asili. His SDP outfit would also sponsor presidential candidates Charity Kaluki Ngilu in 1997 and James Agri Orengo in 2002. Upon clinching the Mboni seat in 1988, Macau was appointed Information and Broadcasting Minister, a portfolio he retained when he was re-elected in 1992. For the decade he was minister, Macau was perceived to be a KANU loyalist, enjoying close political ties with President Moi as one of his trusted point men in the Ukambani region. On several occasions, he defended the government against accusations of engaging in excesses such as human rights abuse. Macau was, however, credited with having strengthened the government-run Kenya News Agency network by opening up more offices across the country and the introduction of the official Chinese government's Xinhua News Agency to Kenya. Macau was, however, accused of failing to advise the government against its retrogressive policy of denying and delaying the registration of private print and electronic media companies as applications piled up. He also directed the Kenya Broadcasting Corporation's television and radio stations to promote homegrown content. In the 1997 general election, Macau's political career was dealt a fatal political blow by Frederick Kalulu, who made a dramatic comeback as Mboni MP on a KANU ticket. He retreated to his businesses and eventually developed cardiac complications that led to his death in June 2005. Jackie Wambiru, The Cabinet.
Welcome back and thank you for staying with us. As I told you earlier, since we started our show, it is a three-segmented show today, and this section will be talking about the Healing of the Nation crusade that will be spearheaded by religious leaders in the country, and their guests will be Benny Hinn, an Israel-American televangelist who are set to come. Of course, that particular crusade will be on the February 24th all the way to the 25th in terms of Healing the Nation crusade. That is what we're going to be talking about in the next few minutes. Talk to us on our social media platforms at Abdiaziz Hashim 1 as well as at KBC Channel 1. Let me get to introduce you to my guest this morning. We do have Bishop Jesse Ireri. Hopefully I've said that correctly. Yes, welcome, Bishop. And then on the farthest end is Bishop Sam Monka.
Yes, sir.
Have I said it right?
That's right.
Yeah. Welcome, Bishops. And let me start you with Bishop Ireri. Given that you're in that particular secretariat that is preparing for the televangelist to arrive into the country, first of all, when do we expect him in the country? Or was he arrived?
No, the crusade is starting on 24th and 25th.
Yes.
So you're expecting to come around a day or so towards the crusade. And so we are planning to receive him when he comes. Yes. Yeah.
Bishop Monka, in terms of the preparations, because we know he will be occupying Nyayo Stadium,
yes,
Are we ready for that?
Yes, sir. Very, very sure. I mean, very, very ready. We have a very powerful team working on the ground. Homeboys are working on the field, planning the seating arrangement. The overflows are taken care of. All the entries and exits are very well marked. We're preparing for any amount of crowd that will come. And we are ready, very, very ready, I can say at this point. Yes.
And Bishop Ireri, given that you come from various ministries across the country, we do anticipate many religious leaders to be flocking to Nyayo Stadium, and they'll be coming with their flock. Are we able to ensure that all of them will be fitting around that Nyayo Stadium?
Yeah, what we've done is we have mapped the entire of Nyayo Stadium, both inside the field and the terraces, and all the overflows. So one thing, we are expecting people to overflow. And outside the main stadium, there are so many other places, parking areas, the volleyball pitch, the other pitches which are there. We are occupying all of them. And we have done complete mapping, such that there are places we will not park vehicles, though there are parkings. We are putting screens there so that everybody will be there looking at, watching from the screens. So inside will be full. We're expecting inside to be full. And every other space within Nyayo Stadium, we've mapped it fully and put screens for that purpose.
Maybe how many people in terms of totality you're expecting?
Inside we calculated 76,000. And then when we combined everything, they were coming to 100 something.
Okay.
Yes.
And in terms of messaging, Bishop Monka, what are we looking for the televangelists to address, even you as religious leaders in our country?
Well, first of all, Ben Hinn is such an amazing minister of God. He is the person that God has used in the whole world to bring to the world the knowledge of the person of the Holy Spirit. And this man of God, God uses him to bring hope, to bring joy and healing. God uses him in a very extraordinary way to heal the sick. God uses him in a very mighty way to bring hope to both to nations and individuals and families. And this particular season, it's about healing the nation. And he has brought a message. He's going to bring a message of hope, healing, and we expect that people are going to be healed. We want to stand here and invite everyone who is sick, come for your healing. God, the Bible talks to us about Jesus being the same yesterday, today, and forever. And Ben Hinn particularly, God uses him with a gift of healing and miracles and signs and wonders. So, God is going to use Ben Hinn to bring about the presence of God, the manifested presence of God. This man of God ministers on the Holy Spirit, the presence of God. And we believe that Kenya is going to be covered, the whole country is going to be covered by the presence of God. And this country will come alive in so many areas, even the economy. And by the way, we have a lot of guests that are coming. So there is also going to be economic healing. We have like 20 nations, some very many pastors, about 300 pastors who have confirmed coming from China. See, and many other nations of Europe, America, thousands of people are going to come to this country. So there's going to be a lot of joy in Nairobi, because people are going to make money, people are going to receive the word of God, people are going to receive hope, people are going to get really, really blessed. Yes, sir.
And Bishop Ireri, in terms of the other thematic areas as a secretariat, you know the country, the way we are headed, and you know how the critical role that the churches play in setting up the agenda in our country. What other thematic areas is he likely to touch upon? Okay, as Bishop Sama said, one of the areas we are expecting is the spiritual side, very much. Because if you allow me, I will read a scripture here, which says in the book of Mark chapter 16, verse 15, go into the whole world and preach the gospel to every creature. You see, I like the way Jesus puts it, to every creature. Yes.
So the gospel affects every creature. Every creature means anything in Kenya will be affected. For example, in that place we shall be praying. When we pray, we are expecting not only the spiritual healing, we pray, there will be rain in the nation. We have done it before. We pray and there's rain in the nation. So eventually this gospel will affect the creatures, will affect the cows, will affect everything, because those prayers will be answered. We have done it before and it has been done. So he says, preach the gospel to every creature. So there will be the creature of human beings, knowing Jesus Christ and getting saved. There will be the creature of the issues of economic healing. Why? Because when we pray, God does things. Some people wonder, why do we believe in prayer? We believe in prayer because prayer is calling God into action, into matters that human beings cannot do by themselves. Where human beings are limited, God comes in. So we are expecting issues of rain. We are expecting issues of economic healing. One, as my brother said, the guests that are coming, they may not bring economic healing at once, but there will be some economic effects. Hotels already are booked. Actually, we were checking some hotels yesterday and we are finding they are booked. We were checking some vehicles from Uganda yesterday. People are having issues from Uganda because a lot of people are coming from Uganda because it's being accompanied by Pastor Kayanja. And so, so Uganda is coming. So some people are missing vehicles for the weekend. And so they was telling us that. And so we are finding that that area will be covered. Then also, we are expecting the political part.
Yes.
When he comes, he will be praying for the political parts of the nation. And of course, we're expecting also political leaders to be there to join us. We have invited everybody. And whenever a man of God comes, this gospel which was preached to every creature, there is now what happens. Those politicians also will receive a message. A message that, of course, is expected to change some things in their way of doing things. Also give them a godly push to do their things better. So a lot of areas will be covered by this crusade.
And given that you invited the politicians, I'm coming to you, Bishop. You know their habitual character. Will they be allowed to speak on that podium?
No. There's a crusade whereby the way we have organized it, even within ourselves, the people who speak there are those who are leading the meeting.
Yes.
Of course, if a president of a nation comes to any meeting, you have to recognize him.
Yes.
You have to give honor to whom honor is.
Or even the first lady.
So if the first lady, the president are there, there's likelihood we may give them. But even we have done a crusade still, and the first lady was there throughout for 2 days, and she never even spoke. She told us she's not going to speak, and she was inside the meeting. And actually, she was part of the organizing team just late last year. So it's not a must, but it depends on her. But hers, if we have her, if we have the president, we will give them a chance if they are willing to speak. But no other politicians is going to say anything political there. And also, we have seen, because we have worked with them before, when they are in our crusades or in our prayer meetings, they follow the theme all the time. They don't deviate so far. So we are expecting, even if they speak, it will still be according to the theme of the crusade, the healing of the nation. Yes.
Maybe Bishop Sam, you're talking about, it will even touch on economic healing itself.
Yes.
Are we looking like the church is trying to frame or solutions, bring up solutions so as to address the current economic situations Kenyans are going through? Given that you're inviting those leaders, do you think certain proposals that you'll be fronting before those leaders as well?
Well, our focus this particular time, because of course there is that conversation going on, and the church is offering solutions in different areas. Of course, the church is a very huge part of the economy of this nation. Schools, we have so many schools owned by and run by churches and many other things, all right? But this time, we are focusing, as Bishop already said, our focus mainly is on the spiritual element. And life is in its entirety spiritual. Life is totally controlled from the spiritual realm. The state of things in the spirit affects the state of matters in the physical. So we believe that as this man of God comes, God has used him to transform nations from that spiritual aspect in the first place. As he comes, things are going to change in the spirit realm. I don't know how well conversant you are, or I believe many Kenyans know that life is very, very spiritual. So he's coming with the spiritual blessings. He's coming with the grace. He's coming with the presence of God, the manifested presence of God, and that is our focus this time. But we're also having that conversation in other quarters and in other places. Like the church is not sitting back to look and only pray. We are not just praying this time.
Yes.
We have moved away from just praying to being part and parcel of the transformation of the economy of the country. We have many people who are involved in various sectors. We have many churches who are involved in various sectors of the economic building. You see, we are part of the thing. But this time, our focus, as Benny Hinn comes, is on basically healing the nation economically, in our souls. In, you know, every time we have police, though our country has really come from a long way. We've made a lot of changes. There's not that enmity that was there before. There's a lot of peace in the country, as you know. A lot of, you know, yesterday we were in Kisumu. There's just so much peace in Kisumu and everywhere. Things are not as bad as they used to be. But I believe with all my heart that, and we believe as a secretary, that this meeting is going to bring a lot more unity, a lot more love, a lot more coexistence from, I mean, in all fronts, in all quarters, individually, in churches, in communities, even in politicians. We're going to bring about a very beautiful, harmonious coexistence in the whole country as this meeting goes on. That's our focus.
Let me come back here to Bishop Ireri. We're talking about him is coming back to the country for the second time after 2 decades. He has not been in the country. That was back in 2004.
2000.
2000s.
Yes.
Now he's coming back to the country at 2024.
Yes.
What significance does it mean? Because you're dealing with a generation that right now is called Gen Z. Yes.
Yeah, he was here at 2000. And you imagine the person who was born that time has finished university.
Yes.
That is my daughter. She was born the same week he was here.
Yeah.
So she's finished university.
Yes.
So it's a real thing, I know. I was in the crusade myself. Of course, I was going to maternity and then coming back to the crusade. So it's a real thing I can remember very well. And the generations have changed. One thing we have done, actually, we even meeting the university student leaders today, so that they also join us in this crusade. One of the things that we want to do is to have them part of what we are doing. We are growing old. We have our children to take over the gospel. We have done some study and found in the Western nations, they kept on doing their liturgy and their crusades and their matters, and they forgot to come along with their children. And as they forgot to come along with their children, one time I was in Netherlands and somebody was telling me their children don't know anything to do with the gospel, neither with Jesus Christ. But us, what we've done is we've done deliberate moves to involve the young people into what we are doing, so that they feel they are part and parcel of what we are doing, so that they can take over and do what we want to be done and what God wants to be done. So as generations have changed, we have mobilized also the same people, because remember, they are the same people who are working in our churches, both the old and the young. We have mobilized them. We are doing 5,000 singers. The 5,000 singers, majority of them are our youth, combined with, of course, the rest of us, but mostly they are our youth. We have 2,500 ushers. 2,500 ushers, majority of them are our youth. We have 100 ministers. Those will be assisting in checking what is happening. That one, of course, is more mixed. We have taken a bit the higher people because, and then we have also protocols, which is 300?
Yeah, 300.
Who also combine both the young and the old. So basically, we have been a bit deliberate to make sure we effect and affect and impact our young generation.
Yes.
So that they are not left in this move. What we are expecting in the Christian life is something we call revival. Revival is when God moves in a nation, in a city, in the world, whereby the power of God is manifested and people can see exactly as it happened the days of Jesus Christ, where sick people were healed, the lame people walked, the deaf ears were opened. Those things that happened when Jesus was walking on earth is what is normally called revival, when they start happening again. And it's a kind of visitation of God into the world. So we want our young people, because when those things start happening, God uses individuals to do those things. So we want ourselves, the old generation, together with the young generation, to be impacted in the same. Now, what happens is when we were young, we did the gospel so much. We were able to affect our generation. So we want our young people also to receive the same. So if it's issues of drugs or whatever, anything else, they are able to talk to people at their age. When I talk to them, they think, okay, you are okay. You have finished your life. But when they have their same age, like now you're getting the students from the university and all that. So when they are being talked by the same age, it is easy to penetrate. So we are very deliberate so that we are not doing it for ourselves, we are doing it for the whole body. We have also now gone to over 25 places, meeting pastors. As he said, we were in Kisumu Eldoret yesterday. This other side, we have gone all the way to Nyeri, to Nanyuki, and so many places, Naivasha, Nakuru, Nyandarua, and so many places. Then Nairobi, we have covered all of it. Kajiado, Narok, and so much. We are deliberate that we want the entire body of Christ to come together, and we want all ages to be into this. So that it's not only the spiritual part, rather it's not only the spiritual part for the church, but also the entire society is affected and impacted by this crusade. Yes.
Because, Bishop, so many times you have even heard our political leaders in the country clearly stating that we need to ensure that the next generation, we practice and morph those young leaders to be taking after them once they vacate offices. Now, given that the church is doing that, should even these political leaders that you invite there borrow a leaf from the church itself?
Absolutely. But maybe even before I comment on that, just to add a little bit on what Bishop has said, you see, Ben-Hinn is a minister of God who is of his kind, that is the only one in the world right now. We have had great ministers of God in different generations. Most of them have gone to heaven. Ben-Hinn is like the only of his age that does what he does that is still here. Those people who do great crusades, who fill up stadiums, who move in the healing ministry. And you see, God's plan, in God's plan, young people are involved. In Joel chapter 2:28, the Bible says, in the last days I'll pour out my spirit upon all flesh. Then he says, your young men and your young women shall prophesy. Your sons and daughters shall prophesy, and they shall see visions and dream dreams. And your old men shall dream dreams. So God really has interest in the impartation of young people, and we have been very deliberate, as Bishop has said, to also involve young people so that they may receive, because you cannot receive something unless it's given to you of someone that has been given to God. I mean, by God. Like Paul told Timothy, what you have learned from me, transfer it to others who are faithful. So Ben-Hinn is coming to also release what God has given to him, and we want the young people to receive, so that we can have many other people who can do what Ben-Hinn does from Kenya to the world. And actually, as you say, politicians should think generational. It's very unfortunate every time leaders die or get old and they don't have anyone to take after them. You see, many people are selfish. I've come to realize many people are selfish. They think about themselves all the time. They're just like me, myself, and I. And by the time catches up with you, you realize that you've only been building yourself and no one can take after you. Even most business leaders, when their businesses, when they die, their businesses die with them. And in our nation, it's just a very good thing for leaders to deliberately think about the next generation, like we are doing. Like Bishop has said, we have young people getting involved. Even now, on social media, young people are very active. We're using a hashtag, Healing the Nation Crusade. And yesterday, it was one of the top, number 3 in the whole country. In Twitter. Healing the Nation Crusade, and Pastor Ben-Hinn, Karibu Kenya. Who is doing that? Not the old people, young people. And they are feeling the sense of their involvement, their importance, their value in this process, because God is generational. When Paul was getting old, he had Timothy. Timothy was a great leader who took after Paul. At some point, he was leading a very large church that Paul started, which he continued. And he was very particular about raising him. So we're also very, very particular. And leaders of all levels. I'm actually glad because you look younger. And in KBC, there are older people who are journalists. And now you're coming up as some. Our leaders should just be very deliberate about investing in the younger generation, because that is when the nation can continue to grow from one beauty to another, one glory to another, so that the nation does not disintegrate. The nation is upgrading. Because young people, the beautiful thing about young people is they make life better and easier and greater.
And of course, given that now we're entering the final leg of the program, I want to give you at least a minute each so that you can wind up on this particular topic. I can see somebody on Twitter called Felix. Let me get his name. Felix Opondo. You know, as Kenyans, we need to ask, will it be free as you make your final remarks?
Yeah, we want to welcome every Kenyan to join us for this crusade. The crusade is on 24th and 25th at Nyayo Stadium. It will be starting at 3 p.m. Every day. Of course, we are expecting people to jump there earlier than that. So whoever wants to be in the field should come earlier than that. This crusade is totally free. And all Kenyans of all walks of life, the young and the old, the learned and the unlearned, the rich and the poor, the churched and the unchurched, every religion, we are all welcome. This is a place whereby God will be speaking to us, ministering to us. Let the sick come also. We trust God for healing. We don't heal. Benin does not heal, but God heals. So we'll be trusting God that as Benin will be praying for people, they will be healed. So we are welcoming all Kenyans to join us this weekend at Nyayo Stadium. Every day, Saturday and Sunday. They are welcome.
Okay, Bishop.
Free of charge.
Okay. There you have it, Felix Opondo, and the rest of Kenyans who wanted to ask that question. It is free of charge.
Yes.
Make your way to Nyayo Stadium. Bishop, finally?
Oh, my final remarks.
Final remarks.
Beautiful. I want to say this, that this is such a defining moment for the nation of Kenya. Benin was here 20 or so years ago, and something happened in our nation. This is another chance God has given to us. We haven't had in a long time crusades from anyone coming out of the country of Benin's caliber. This is a defining moment for our nation. And one of the things that God has given Benin, and I was thinking about this program, I thought of informing Kenyans about this. Benin has been graced by God to move with the manifested presence of God. And we have been praying and expecting that this country, Kenya, shall be covered by the knowledge of the glory of the Lord like the waters cover the sea. We have been praying, and I want to tell Kenyans that come expecting that you'll have an experience with God. God is real. God is not fiction. God is real. God is a person, and he uses people to manifest himself. And as Benin comes, we are expecting that God is going to touch individuals, God is going to touch families, God is going to touch the whole nation with his power, the power of his word, the power of his manifested presence. Because Benin is coming and is used by God to reveal the presence of God, to manifest the presence of God. So I encourage every Kenyan to come with an expectation, with a lot of hunger. We've been praying, so just come and receive from the Lord. Your life will never be the same again. We've talked to pastors, we've talked to Christian leaders, but this is not just a Christian leaders meeting like Bishop has said. Everyone is invited. Everyone is invited, young, old. You can come with your children. You can come. They will be very, very well taken care of. The whole place is very well done. Everyone will be very comfortable.
Okay, thank you so much. That is Bishop Sam Monka and Bishop Jesse Ireri. Thank you so much. And of course, you're in that vital committee. There you have it on the 24th and 25th. All roads will be leading to the Nyayo Stadium for Benin, the Israeli-American televangelist, who is expected a day or 2 days before into the country. So for that particular crusade that will be spearheaded by this particular committee, and some of the committee members are already here. And of course, the topic will be Healing the Nation Crusade. And of course, that is what we'll be discussing. Thank you so much for making your time for us this morning. And of course, we need to move on to other things that we'll be discussing this morning. And into the final segment, we'll be discussing the state of the nation. And already my guests are in studio: Dr. Isaac Hassan, a governance expert, Philip Pande, youth inclusion advisor, and Sami Meli, a political analyst. Will be discussing other matters, including where I want to take you right now to Naivasha in Nakuru County, where we do understand our reporter Jane Jacob Curry is following up on the day 2 of the cabinet retreat in Nakuru County. John, good morning and good to see you. What more can you tell us? What is on the itinerary of the cabinet this morning?
Thank you very much, Abdiaziz. Hashim, back at Broadcasting House. This is the second day of the retreat that brings together members of the cabinet as well as, senior members of the executive as the government tries to evaluate their performance the last 1 year and what the next year portends for the country and indeed the administration. This morning, we've seen President William Ruto meet with members of the cabinet as well as the representatives of Council of Governors who are here to make a presentation before the members of the executive on how the relations will improve between the members of the executive as the other 47 county. And of course, you remember part of the complaints you've heard from governors is the late disbursement of funds that was late, particularly the tranche that was supposed to be disbursed about 2 months ago. And these are some of the issues they have been able to iron out. Of course, we've not been able to engage any of the governors just yet because the meeting is not well concluded, but we'll be engaging them in a bit also to get to understand the finer details of the conversations they've had. The UDA party is also here, and they're also going to have a presentation before the members of the executive today. Kenya Kwanza administration, and he says it's quite an elaborate manifesto that once fully implemented, it will mean the turnaround of the economic fortunes of a country and what needs to happen in the country. And you will remember the custodian of that manifesto, particularly the UDA manifesto, is the UDA party under Secretary General Cleopas Malala. And of course, with the officials, the national officials of the party, they are inside the house you see behind me, where the members of the executive led by President William Ruto are at. And the deliberations will go on for the entire day with different stakeholders making the presentations before the members of the executive led by the president. And then the meeting concludes later on tomorrow. And therefore, this is, like I said yesterday, is a meeting that goes on for 3 days. It started yesterday, first of all, the joint retreat between members of the executive and members of the National Assembly and the Senate, drawn from the Kenya Kwanza side. This time, stakeholders like the Council of Governors as well as the UDA party making their presentations. And of course, the cabinet now continues with its deliberations alongside PSAs and other senior members of the executive. Of course, once you get a hold of a few governors here and there, we'll be coming back to you, Abdiaziz, for more. But for now, let me hand you back to Abdiaziz to continue with News Check. We'll be coming back later once we get to grab a few governors really to tell us the crux of the conversation they've had with the president this morning.
Thank you so much. That is our senior political affairs reporter, John Jacob Kiro, who has been covering the cabinet retreat. Yesterday, you've just heard from John. He was talking about members of parliament before the president. And today, the cabinet will be touching on an array of matters that will be ensuring that they are running the country properly and other outstanding matters that the cabinet are expected to handle. Yesterday, it was the D-Day for the legislators, where even saw the president even urging them to consider passing the affordable housing bill that we do anticipate to be debated and finalized by the end of this week or even next week, given that we do anticipate the legislators to be flocking back to the floor of the House this afternoon. You do know that the affordable housing bill is one of the pinnacles of the Kenya Kwanza administration, and the president is banking on that so that to create job employment and of course ensure there is decent housing, given that we have over 2,000 slums in the country, not just the ones you know in Nairobi as well. Let me get to introduce my final guest in this triage of conversation that we're having this morning on News Check. I'll start here on my left. You know him is Dr. Isaac Hassan, a governance expert. Daktari, karibu tena. Then to his left, you also know him. He's called Sami Meli, a political analyst. Sami, karibu tena.
Asante sana.
And of course, the young man at the end, just like me. I'm young like you. Philip Pandey, a youth inclusion advisor. Welcome, Philip.
Thank you very much, Abdi. It's good to be back.
Yes.
Looks like I'm the old one.
Then let me start with the senior. with the senior most. Daktari, yesterday, I'm sure you had an opportunity to see what the president was telling the legislators. Aside from the affordable housing, the cabinet retreat, most of the time, we do get access to it, but we do not get access to it. But yesterday, we had that opportunity to get access to it. You heard what the president was saying. So what were your initial views?
Abdiaziz, yesterday's the president had a discussion with legislatures. there were mixed reactions in terms of the communication he received from the president. One, there were directives that he has given to his parliamentarians in terms of those ones who are in his backyard, I mean his political party, those who are in the ruling party. And there are those requests that he has made in terms of fulfilling his promises to Kenya, trying to indicate that he needs support from legislature for him to deliver what he has promised to deliver. So those two reactions, those two events, one is viewed very positively in terms of this developing synergy between the executive and the legislature.
Yes.
In that, when the executive really want to deliver certain projects, they expect the parliamentarians to help them through, so that the necessary legislative acts are put in place in order for the executive to be supported with legislatures, or rather to be supported by policies or acts that will go and support their doings. On the other hand, there's a certain information the president has said. I think you'll allow me to touch a bit on it, because it wasn't very, as an expert on governance, there are things we look at in terms of whether they have replication on the ordinary relationship between the executive, the judiciary, and the legislatures as an independent entity to deliver services for the country. The president insisted again that whichever means, though I'm not going to say whichever means, we were going to deliver affordable house.
Yes.
And parliamentarians looks like they have been a bit given, the red card to tell them that, hey, you need to pass that in order for me to do this, and it is mandatory for you to do it. And that gives a bit of, as a politician, it gives a bit of hinge in terms of whether they have freedom, parliamentarians have freedom to actually reason wisely the way they have been sent to represent their electorates, looking at the interest of their electorate versus what the national, the executive are trying to enforce. So the bottom line is that when you look at it very keenly, he has put his position very well in terms of asking them that for us to deliver, because we have a common goal, for us to deliver to Kenyans, you help us on this aspect, we will also do it this way.
Okay, Dr.
But the one thing that he has added gives a bit that, he will have stayed mute in terms of the housing, affordable housing project, because this thing had taken different twists. One time, sometimes the judiciary has stopped it, suspended it, and called it unconstitutional. He has been given an opportunity to go and constitutionalize it. So he will have just talked about the best way to constitutionalize that process in order for him to deliver. But when he looks at it keenly, that we will still do it, we still feel like there is a bit of element of still saying that we will not want to respect the judicial process, which is a bit unfortunate if we look at it that way.
Okay. Meli, your thoughts?
I would look at this in this way, that the president is the captain of a team. And the team is made up of 3 sections. When you are going to play, you have the defense, the middle field, and the strikers. I see the executive being the strikers, the legislature being the middle field, and then the judiciary being the defense. In our constitution, it's very clear that most of the mandate is given to the president to govern the country. And I see it right with President William Ruto bringing the whole team together for the common good of Mwananchi, because if we go defending every other and not allowing our leadership to think together. The other week he met the judiciary, yes, and there are things they agreed on. Now he's meeting the judiciary, I mean the legislature,
yes.
and then he will be left with the cabinet on strategizing on the way forward. I think this is healthy for a country. And I only found something funny is that our members of parliament looked rudderless in what the executive is all about. For example, when he talked about the jobs, the nursing jobs abroad, it was disappointing to note that only 500 had applied out of 2,500, telling them that there were 2,000 more spaces. I think people have taken our president as a joker sometimes. When he is serious, people they don't take him seriously. And he was able to say it yesterday with enough clarity that whatever he is saying is not a joke anymore. Now it's not politics, it is governance. Showing the people the way. Now that there are no jobs within this country, there are jobs outside our borders. And I was happy to hear that there are around 250,000 people who will be going to Germany. They are finalizing on some things that perhaps by the end of June, something will be happening. So it's very disappointing, especially when you walk around this country and you find youth hanging around. We have had the privilege of traveling to foreign countries which are developed. You rarely see the youth around, lying, idling around. For example, if you go right now to Jivanji, you will not find less than 1,000 people just seated there. So I think for the time being, now that there are no jobs within, we can export this labor instead of letting it lie idle in the country. And then once they are out there, I am sure by the time the country stabilizes and we are able to bring them back, when they are better psychologically, they are better morally, they are better even in the way they are able in ethics, because I'm sure our ethical fabric in this country is torn. Actually, it is in pieces, it is in tatters. So I like what only the president failed to say is that I have a dream. He has a very clear dream to change this country. And I have never been a cheerleader, and I've never used to bootlicking, but now for this one, I think I believe in the president. He's a little bit serious and better than other presidents, and he's telling us the facts as they are. You know, as Kenyans, most of us don't like knowing the things that are going on. Yes, after he has a deputy who's a truthful man. So you are only left with saying the truth, because the truth will come through the next second person. So having him as the person in charge of this country, we would want to hear it from him more and giving us hope. Actually, if you look at the moment, there are so many suicide cases, there are so many homicide cases, there are so many other criminal activities that are going on in the country. Not because they said that an idle mind is the devil's workshop. Unfortunately, we have too many idle minds, and perhaps that is why our country is becoming the devil's workshop. Now, I like the Kenyans, and I like them when I'm told we are superpowers online. Even America fears us. When we come to nationhood, touch Kenya, and you will see them. In fact, the other day when Malema came and corrected the president here, the Kenyans put aside their differences and told him, Malema, by the way, who are you? Yes, this is our country, and that is the country we want. Youth who are proud of their country. It doesn't matter which position it is taking. It doesn't matter where it is heading. But if you are able to defend your country, country first and then the rest later.
Okay. Pande?
Thanks, Abdi. I think I agree with my brother Meli on the fact that it's needful to occasionally press pause and evaluate the situation and the progress that has been made in implementing certain pillars and promises that we make to ourselves and to the nation. And so it's quite in order that the president is retreating with his government, especially the cabinet and the National Assembly, the Senate, both parliaments to that effect, to really take stock of what they've been able to implement, perhaps ventilate on some challenges, one of them being the passing of the finance bill, particularly on the affordable housing bill that would be coming independently into the National Assembly. It would also be fundamental that in this occasion, they are able to, again, strategize on the next phase of his government, particularly looking at what has happened in the last 2 years, close to 2 years now, with regards to the economic meltdown, the difficulties relating to us as a nation, and looking at the overall framework on the performance of the global economy. Particularly on the housing bill, which is quite key and close to the president's heart. Love him or hate him, the president is somebody that meets his targets, from what we know. His life as a politician indicates that of a focused person who's come all the way from being MP, serving as a 2-term deputy president, making the first stab on the presidency in the history of Kenya and becoming president. And it takes, an extraordinary focus to be that. So when he says that he's going to implement the housing bill and the affordable housing scheme, I want to take that to the bank. One thing that I would say is the affordable housing scheme is not just affordable housing. It's a mix of affordable housing, it's a mix of social housing and market rate housing models. And the focus has been on the affordability and the implementation framework. The case at the courts and going through the appeal process pointed at some weaknesses, which I think then, as our elder here puts it, needed constitutionalization, framing what the president wanted to implement into a legal framework that then works. But as the legal framework works, what is in it for Mwananchi? What is the overall perspective? What is the take? I must agree that last year at the introduction of the finance bill, it was quite a political time. We had a standoff between the opposition and the government then. And much of the debate was taken on the side of political game weights than the objectivity that we needed to assess the affordable housing bill, affordable housing scheme in. Particularly, the Azimio manifesto mentioned affordable housing, and the president has reiterated that. And so the focus then now should be, are we doing it the right way? Is it adding value to our need and the gap for housing? Is it burdenous to the people paying for it? And what are the models on how we could make this lighter? How could we make this more acceptable to the people? And how then does it give real-time value to people that are paying for it, wananchi that are looking to be home owners for that matter?
Coming back to Daktari, you know that particular bill, they will continue debating it this afternoon. Do we anticipate political lines to be drawn because we know the position of Azimio?
Definitely. That is the order of the day in our parliamentarians. They always play that such a game. Before just I go into that one, I think we need to understand that President Ruto manifesto and the goodwill that he has for this nation is very clear. The challenge he has is the people he's placing somewhere. Competency of some of the people that he places in some of the offices will going to let him down, and that's the biggest challenge. Why am I saying that? If you go to these offices and see the kind of people who have been placed there. For example, yesterday I went to an office and you find the CEO of that office, he comes and you come and see him. Outrightly someone tells you, you guys have to say what you want very fast, or else I'll ask you guys to leave. This is that's unprofessional. These are kind of incompetent. Some people have been given to offices and they need to serve this nation and they need to represent the president. And if each one of them don't represent the president the way it is required, then definitely the president is prone to fail. And therefore, I think as time goes on, the president needs to look at the kind of people he's placing in offices who are supposed to champion his agenda. Otherwise, we will end up in failing all the things that are required to do. Coming to the parliament, we know very well the nature of our parliamentarians in such a way that they are always either pro something or opposing. So we have the opposition and the majority in the House. And agendas are usually discussed based on who are the majorities. I know very well much of the information that they are supposed to internalize and look at it keenly. And of course, incorporating into what the people or the public, in terms of public participation, has been gathered during their recess. I mean, during recess, they were doing a lot of public participation in regards to the same issue that has created unconstitutionality when they were doing it. And what we are looking at is that when this is tabled, I know there will be clear demarcation in terms of opposers and proposers. But why is it like that? It's because it's the nature of our politics, that even if there is a good thing that the government is tabling, the opposition will always say no, regardless of whether those issues will going to directly benefit their electorate. They look, we are fancy or fantastic, way of dealing with things, because we have masters. Who are our masters? Every politician has his political party leader, who is his master. Instead of looking at being their master and the center stage of the person who is supposed to be looked into as the electorate, they look at it who is their political leader. For example, leader of the opposition, leader of the government, the party for the government, and every one of them will not put any logic into the discussion. What they're going to do is that each of them will going to defend their side. And of course, Parliament, because of the nature of the way they do their work, is that they're going to vote. And when they vote, the majority will have their way. They always say, minority have their say, but the majority will always have their way, according to our... And the only option that Kenyans will be left with, if issues that they have raised during the public participation has not been addressed, then is to go to, again, the corridors of justice to see whether they are able to be served with justice in terms of what indeed their concerns are and how best they can be addressed. And that way, if the parliamentarians would have taken their time and look at it in a very sober mind and think about exactly what will be the implication of what we are passing, how will it going to benefit our electorates, as well as how they will going to upheld things which are already of importance to the electorate, then issues of corridors of justice will not arise. But I know very well that when things are tabled in Parliament, and we know it is coming from the government side or from the opposition side, depending on how their interest will be, those will going to be, will be based on who are the minority and who are the majority, and each of them will going to drive their will.
Meli, some of the issues even raised in the Finance Act that was talked about last year before it was even passed, it was the most aftersought bill that was before. Now it is an act. The issues that arose from that particular Finance Act is what Dr. is talking about here, public participation, because I'm informed we do not even have a proper guideline to guide what public participation is and how it's supposed to be conducted and who is supposed to conduct it in which manner. And also the Auditor General, that is Nancy Gathungu, gave out a report last year in terms of how these public participations are being carried out and in which form can they be carried out. So the issue of public participation is very, very crucial. And we have witnessed on a number of occasions that whatever is said is never included in that particular bill or report or even a motion. So do we anticipate that this will be different?
I think our leadership has not understood one thing. The first element of the Constitution vests all, it talks about the sovereignty of the people and the supremacy of the Constitution. That anything that contravenes the Constitution and not endorsed by the people is outrightly wrong. And that is why the government is losing so many cases in court, because at some point they don't understand one thing, that the supremacy of the constitution and the sovereignty of the people, mamlaka, yes, all the power is vested in the people of Kenya, and they only exercise it through their elected leaders. So the leadership should be able, I think it was part of the clauses that wanted to be enacted before the full implementation of the constitution. Unfortunately, it has been overtaken by events. But any legislation coming, whether it's a finance bill, whether it's a small legislation on housing, it has to involve the people. The biggest unfortunate thing is that we don't have the village barazas, we don't have the ward barazas, we don't have the constituency barazas, we don't have the county barazas where we can sit and agree. Because I don't think the need of Nairobi County is the same as the need of my home county, that is Trans Nzoia. Yes, what I will push from Trans Nzoia, for example, will not be the same as what is pushed from Nairobi. And if everything is done in Nairobi, at some point there are some constituents, members of parliament, who never visit their constituencies. If you take calls from Kenyans right now, they'll tell you they saw others after being sworn in. That is the last time they saw them. So anything that is being passed in this country or being enacted that will affect the lives of the people first has to come from the people. And it is simple. You start by engaging the people on the ground, and then come slowly upwards until you get to the regional, and then have a national convention and say this can go through. Unfortunately, again, is that the biggest thing that is that happens nowadays is that you find such a fora taken in a big hotel where the common mwananchi cannot enter. Yes, the security men at the gate tells them off before they even come in. If you are dressed in a suit like me, at least they'll respect you and allow you in. But how much content do I carry in? There are people who are very knowledgeable and in the villages that are not involved in these issues. They are retired people who are in the villages. Perhaps they can no longer even afford fare to such venues. But they are rich in the contributions to this country. So I think we stick to the first chapter of the Constitution, the sovereignty of the people and the supremacy of the Constitution.
Okay, we are pressed for time. Pandey, as we're talking about the expediency, the president even told the legislators, did they get the message that time is indeed of the essence?
I think they did, and I must say that President needs more help than he's getting. I looked at the leader of majority in the National Assembly confessing that they are not able to mobilize numbers to sit in the National Assembly to debate and pass bills. And that would be a very bad sign on facilitating the president's agenda, especially on anchoring development on legislation. So Parliament needs to mobilize itself, not just on the government side, but even on the opposition side, so that we have quality debate in Parliament and generate content that then reinforces our development. The urgency of now is an ongoing concern elsewhere and everywhere within government, within institutions that are implementing programs, because all these programs and projects are time-based and time-bound. So you see the president wanting to achieve certain promises in the first term. Parliament must go with that agency. But then the other thing that I would also mention is, what options do we have? For example, if we face another season of difficulty with the housing, affordable housing bill, then where else could we get help and reprieve? In this country, there is something that we have failed to talk about constructively, and that is the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company. It is already providing a financial framework through which young, middle-aged, and Kenyans of low income are able to own homes. And the target of this company that was put into force in 2018 is to support people of low income and middle income to own homes. And the threshold is that you must not be earning, I think, above 200,000 shillings per month. Now, this company is already working with 10 banks, 9 banks, and 11 SACCOs. We have well over 20,000 SACCOs in this country. 25% of the fund is owned by the government of Kenya, 23% by development financing institutions, and then 44% by banks, and only 8% by SACCOs. So my thinking would be, how are we able to utilize the framework of the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company and bring the SACCOs to a majority, so that a majority of this fund is owned by SACCOs. Then what this means is that we are spreading the base and equipping Kenyans that are not covered within income earning, because the contention of the bill is we are paying for it. We don't need the houses. I'm earning $1 million shillings or above. I probably bear a huge weight on this, but I have my own home. I have facilitated and organized myself. How do we build capacities of cooperatives and people at the bottom of the pyramid to be part of the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company scheme and be able to own houses? And how are we able to leverage on the legislative framework that Parliament is providing in, for example, amending this, the act that brought into force the Kenya Mortgage Refinancing Company, so that if we don't go well with the affordable housing bill, we still have a fallback plan. But I would dare say, Abdi, and you can quote me, that this bill this time will pass, and I believe that the implementation would go, but we need to be a little more concerned about the acceptability and keep on rallying support for that which is good and work on that which is still thorny.
We have a few minutes. Let me start with Daktari. Daktari, there is another issue that even came up in that particular meeting, supporting the ODM leader Raila Odinga, who's the Azimio principal for the AU position. As you respond and you're giving your final remarks, respond to that particular issue, but what are the political implications of that as well?
Abdiaziz, I think that's a very crucial thing that people are discussing now, and it's creating a lot of debate. There are two things that surrounds the issue of the AU Commission chair being fronted for the opposition leader Raila. I think as a Kenyan, when such positions, regional or continental or international positions arise and Kenyans show interest, it is important that Kenyans unite and support that process, because it takes this country to another level in terms of when you are the head of an international institution, continental or an international institution, Kenyan is placed somewhere because you don't leave your nation. You still be a Kenyan, but representing that country. I remember the current one,
Musa Faki
is from Chad. Chad is a small continent, a desert with nothing much to talk about. But after he has been placed there, Chad has become more popular than any other nation, because their own was the head of AU, and therefore at every one time people will ask, where do you come from? And people are going to tell you, yes, indeed, I'm from Chad and this is my... So I think I congratulate the president for supporting Raila's interest. If that is the position that he wants, I think it will be a very good thing, because that shows that the president has put aside his political affairs, and he says, because it is not internally and it is externally, Kenya is for all of us, and therefore we need to support the person who is going forward. In terms of political implication, that's the point that you want me to say, is that in terms of political implementation, implication rather, is that there will be a huge gap, because Raila is known to be populist. He gathers crowds so much, and therefore we are not very sure whether the opposition now will put down their tools, and we may not have a lot of check and balance for the government. And I'm fearing if Kalonzo, who is currently talking about, recently he mentioned that he wants the outcome of the committee the Bomas Committee report be implemented.
Okay.
And as politicians, as governance, we look at it from a different perspective. He want that implemented. Raila goes to AU, and then he occupies the new office that is the leader of the opposition. I don't know whether that will going to work, but that is his way of thinking. So politics is a game of chess, like. So I think he's positioning himself, but all the thing I'm fearing is that we may not get the crowd maker like Raila.
Yeah, because
time is not on our side.
Yeah, time is not on our side because we're literally being kicked out. Let me start with you, Meli. Quickly, 30 seconds, Tafadhali.
Yes.
Your final remarks on that.
Yes, I think for the chair of AU, Raila Amolo Odinga is overqualified for the position. I also support his bid. The only unfortunate thing, as Daktari has said, is that he will leave some political orphans around. He has always carried them around, and I'm wondering who will carry them as they move on. And we'll not say he has left big shoes behind, because he's going with them. So unfortunately, they'll have to walk on their flip-flops until they get to learn what Raila used to do. So Baba, having led the infrastructure part of the AU, he's qualified. I think he has enough friendship around Africa, and if President William Ruto supports him and he goes out to do the shuttle diplomacy we usually do, I'm sure, being the crowd puller himself also and also a good marketer, I think the product is marketable across Africa, and if the marketer goes out, Raila will get this seat.
Pande, quickly.
Thank you, Abdi. And joining my colleagues in reinforcing that, there is no doubt on the capacity of the Kenyan opposition leader, the Right Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga, in leading the AU Commission. And I affirm my support for him. I thank the President for rallying the support for him. We must accept that there is a time that a nation must come together to do something jointly. Like we sing the national anthem together, like we pledge our loyalty to the flag. This is a moment to pledge the loyalty to the support for winning the the AU Commission chair, because it is the first, not for Kenya, it is the first for the East African community, and it's fundamental that we bring it home.
Okay, thank you so much.
And it should not be forgotten that the three wise men came from the East. So
there's
one.
We don't have time. Let me start with Philip Pande. Philip Pande,
have one comment.
Because they will be literally being kicked off on air. Yes. Philip Pande, a youth inclusion advisor, Sami Meli, political analyst, and finally, Daktari here, governance expert. Thank you so much for making time for us. Of course, we are pressed for time. When I need to hand it over to my colleague Khalid Abdullahi, who will be leading the Kurunzi section. So don't go too far. My name is Abdiaziz Hashim, and that is Lensa Odingo, if I'm not wrong, my co-anchor for this morning session. And of course, don't go too far. Khalid Abdullahi is up next with Kurunzi Mashinani.